The United Kingdom 2 new pence coin of 1971 featuring Queen Elizabeth II is a historically significant piece in British numismatics because it was part of the nation's very first decimal coinage series. This coin was issued in the year that the UK transitioned from the centuries-old pound-sterling, pounds, shillings, and pence monetary system to the decimal system. Prior to decimalization, Britain's currency was divided into 12 pence per shilling and 20 shillings per pound, 240 old pence per pound. On February 15, 1971, a date remembered as Decimal Day, the system changed to 100 new pence per pound, and the new bronze 2-pence coin was introduced. The obverse front of the 1971 coin carries the second major portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, which was used on British coins from 1968 until 1984. In this effigy, the Queen is shown facing right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland diamond tiara, one of her most iconic pieces of jewelry, without a crown, giving the portrait a more modern and youthful appearance. The surrounding legend reads Elizabeth II DG Regent 1971, abbreviated Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, along with the date of issue. The reverse of the coin was designed by Christopher Ironside, a celebrated British coin designer, who won the competition for the new decimal coin designs. The reverse displays the badge of the Prince of Wales, a plume of 3 ostrich feathers encircled by a coronet with a ribbon bearing the motto Ich Dein, German for I serve, a motto historically associated with the heir apparent to the British throne. Beneath this design is the denomination new pence and the numeral 2. The use of the wording new pence instead of just pence was intended to prevent confusion between the new decimal coins and the pre-decimal pennies in circulation at the time. This wording remained until 1982, when it was replaced by simply 2 pence after the public had become accustomed to the decimal system. The 1971 2 new pence coin was struck in bronze, consisting of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. It weighed 7.12 grams, measured 25.91 millimeters in diameter, and had a smooth, plain edge. The Royal Mint produced these coins in very large quantities for initial circulation, as they were needed to replace the withdrawn 1 shilling and 2 shilling coins in daily transactions under the new system. While most were minted for general use, uncirculated and proof versions were also included in special decimal coin sets issued to commemorate the changeover. Because of the large mintage, circulated 1971 2-pence coins generally hold only face value today, though high-grade uncirculated examples or coins in official mint sets are more desirable to collectors. Historically, the introduction of the 2 new pence coins symbolized not just a new denomination, but a broader modernization of Britain's coinage. Decimalization was a major national change, involving public education campaigns, special decimal day materials in schools, and a brief period of dual pricing. The 2-pence coin in particular was popular for everyday transactions such as bus fares, parking meters, and small retail purchases in the 1970s. The design remained unchanged until the 1982 inscription alteration, and later the reverse was replaced in 2008 by Matthew Dent's Royal Shield design. However, the 1971 issue remains historically important as one of the first decimal coins ever placed into UK pockets. Next top, the 1992 United Kingdom 2-pence coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II represents a significant moment in British numismatic history, as it marked the first year of a major composition change to the denomination since its introduction in decimalization in 1971. Prior to 1992, all UK 2p coins were struck in bronze, but by the early 1990s, rising copper prices made the metal increasingly costly, prompting the Royal Mint to change the alloy to copper-plated steel. 1992 is therefore the pivotal year when both bronze and copper-plated steel versions were produced, the bronze issues being mainly from early in the year and the steel ones thereafter. The coin's obverse bears a third definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by sculptor Raphael Maklauf, in use from 1985 until 1997, showing the Queen facing right, crowned with a George IV state diadem, adorned with diamonds, pearls, crosses, and floral emblems of England, Scotland, and Ireland, with the surrounding Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Reg F D. 1992, abbreviated from Elizabeth II Dei Grazia, Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The reverse, designed by Christopher Ironside for the original decimal coinage series, depicts the ornamental badge of the Prince of Wales, a plume of 3 ostrich feathers encircled by a coronet, with the motto ICH Dying, I Serve, on a ribbon, the denomination 2 pence above and the numeral 2 below. The coin has a diameter of 25.91 millimeters, a thickness of 2.03 millimeters, and a weight of 7.12 G for the bronze type, or 7.12 G nominal for the steel type, though slightly magnetic. The 1992 mintage was high, over 2 billion pieces, with a vast majority being the new copper-plated steel composition, making bronze 1992 examples a sought-after variety among collectors, especially in uncirculated or proof condition. These coins were struck at the Royal Mint in Llantrisant, South Wales, and while circulation strikes are common, the year also saw limited proof sets issued for collectors, containing higher-quality bronze examples. In circulation, the copper-plated steel coins can develop characteristic wear patterns, with the steel core occasionally showing if plating is damaged, while bronze coins retain a deeper, richer tone and do not react to magnets. Historically, the 2p coin was part of the decimal system introduced on February 15, 1971, under Prime Minister Edward Heath, and in 1992, the UK was in the midst of economic and political change, with the Maastricht Treaty being signed and Britain exiting the exchange rate mechanism later that year. The coin, therefore, also sits in a wider narrative of early 90s Britain. Although demonetization of pre-1992 2p coins is not planned, both bronze and steel types circulate interchangeably, making 1992 a year of transition that is particularly notable in modern British coinage history. Collectors value 1992 2 pence coins primarily for the composition difference, with uncirculated bronze versions being scarcer and more desirable, while worn steel examples remain common pocket change, a humble yet historically rich witness to a turning point in the UK's minting practices. Next top. The 1994 United Kingdom 2 pence coin is part of the long-running British decimal coinage system introduced in 1971, replacing the old pre-decimal pennies and shillings with a new structure based on 100 new pence to the pound. This specific coin belongs to the standard circulation bronze issues of the early decimal era, and carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on its obverse. The obverse design for 1994 features a third definitive portrait of the Queen, created by sculptor Raphael David Maklauf, which had been introduced in 1985 and continued until 1997. In this portrait, the Queen is shown facing right, wearing the George IV state diadem, an ornate crown set with diamonds, pearls, crosses, and floral emblems representing the nations of the UK, roses for England, thistles for Scotland, and shamrocks for Ireland. Maklauf deliberately gave the portrait a more formal, almost idealized look compared to earlier versions, intending it to be timeless and dignified. The surrounding inscription reads Elizabeth II DG Regi 1994, which expands to Elizabeth II Dei Grazia Regina, Fidei Defensatrix, Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a traditional monarchic title on British coinage. On the reverse of the 1994 2p coin is the classic design used since decimalization, the badge of the Prince of Wales, consisting of a plume of 3 ostrich feathers emerging from a coronet. The coronet is inscribed with the German motto, ICH Dying, meaning I serve, historically associated with the title Prince of Wales since the 14th century, when it was adopted by Edward, the Black Prince. The design was created by Christopher Ironside, the chief engraver responsible for all the original decimal coin reverse designs of 1971. The denomination 2 pence appears above the feathers in a curve, while the numeral 2 is centered below. This reverse was standard for the denomination from its introduction in 1971 until it was replaced in 2008 by Matthew Dent's Royal Shield design. Notably, in earlier years, 1971 to 1981, the inscription read New Pence to distinguish the new decimal coinage in the old penny, but by 1982 it was changed to 2 pence, as the public was familiar with decimalization. In 1994, the coin was still struck in its traditional composition of bronze, 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. This composition had been in place since decimal coinage began, but would later be replaced in 1992 with copper-plated steel for 1p and 2p coins. However, by 1994 the Royal Mint had already made the change, meaning the 1994 2p coins are actually copper-plated steel rather than bronze, a subtle but important shift in UK coinage history. The change was made to save on metal costs as the value of copper rose, and although the color remained virtually the same when new, the steel-based coins are magnetic, while the earlier bronze coins are not. Thus, the 1994 issue is part of the first era of standard circulation copper-plated steel 2p coins. The coin measures 25.91 millimeters in diameter, weighs 7.12 grams, and has a plain, smooth edge. These dimensions have been consistent since the denomination's introduction. It was struck at the Royal Mint in Lancashire, Wales, which by 1994 had been producing all regular British coins for over 2 decades. 1994 was not considered a particularly low mintage year, so the coins are common in circulation and have little premium value in worn condition. However, uncirculated examples, brilliant uncirculated mint set coins, and proof versions, produced for collector sets, are sought after by collectors wanting complete year sets or those focusing on Queen Elizabeth II portrait types. From a historical standpoint, the 1994 coin sits in the later half of Elizabeth II's reign, during a time of political stability in the UK under Prime Minister John Major. It is also part of the broader story of British coinage modernization, with subtle but important changes in composition, production efficiency, and gradual movement toward eventual redesigns. Collectors interested in transitional details often note that while the design remained the same for decades, small factors, such as the 1992 composition change, mark certain years as more significant. Although 1994 is not a rare date, it represents a firmly modernized version of the classic decimal 2p coin, already using steel cores but still carrying the traditional heraldic reverse. In numismatic terms, circulated 1994 2p coins generally hold face value only, but uncirculated examples in BU, brilliant uncirculated, or proof finish, especially in original Royal Mint packaging, can attract collector interest. Over time, coins struck in copper-plated steel have shown different aging characteristics compared to the older bronze coins, often developing spots or patchy toning, which means pristine examples are harder to find in the long term. For collectors building a portrait series of Queen Elizabeth II's coinage, the 1994 issue is firmly within the Macklow portrait era and represents a practical, everyday coinage most Britons handled daily during the mid-1990s.